Hello, so this is the video I promised you with some of the major corrections that I noticed in the outline that I want to correct before you start um, rounding out your first draft, trying to catch you before you go too far. Major corrections for research paper outlines. Your nowhere words, okay, these are words that are overused, inaccurate, and too far beneath your intelligence for you to pass off as being worthy of your thoughts. These bad words are some things that really make a paper not as good as it could probably be. Okay, so clearly the words are in there. These bad is not great. Some things really good, right? This sentence isn't exciting. It doesn't pop, it doesn't give us much information because it's too vague. What nowhere words do is they make your writing too vague and uninteresting, unappealing, unsophisticated. Okay. I'm going to give you some more examples of nowhere words. Here we go. Okay, so now what do we do instead of using words like very or fun or something or stuff or people? You get specific, right? If somebody is, there was something wrong with the evaluation, right? You don't say something is wrong. The evaluation had errors of composition as well as tone, right? So you want to, when you're trying to avoid a nowhere word, if you're being certain that your writing is specific and you're choosing specific words, you should be fine. Here was a major one. The oppositional evidence seems to be giving you guys quite a bit of trouble. You're presenting the opposition. It does not mean that you are defending the opposition when you present oppositional evidence. Um, so, oppositional evidence, you might have something along the lines of Curry states 90% of drugs that pass animal tests fail in humans, and billions of dollars are wasted on animal research that leads us down blind alleys. So, this comes from a paper that we'll go into a little bit more, and we'll look at exactly how um, the author sets this up and explains it. But I'm going to give you a little excerpt of the explanation here, just because this Curry is stating that animal tests fail in humans. Um, that does not mean that my point is down the drain just because Curry states 90% of drugs that pass animal tests fail in humans. Our author goes on to say, based on the high percentage of failed attempts, Curry believes that animals are suffering and dying for nothing. Yet that is where he's mistaken. Animal research has played a major role in developing vaccines, medicines, and cures for human health. So if you want, I'm going to link in a video too for you to look at the entirety of that paper, which I've broken down, um, rather the entirety of that body paragraph that I've broken down, so you can see how the author actually goes through and turns each of these sentences toward her main position for this paragraph. The quotations within the quotations is another area where I saw that some of you are having a little bit of issues. So basically the double quotations, which are the standard, they go around your source. They go around that source material that you're quoting. The mini guys, the singles, they go within your source. If your source material happens to use a quotation within their writing, well, you're not just going to keep putting double quotations inside double quotations. You have to let us know these are quotations of something that my source is quoting. So here's my example for you. So renowned tour guide Rick Steves claimed, in the town outside Brisbane, I saw, quote, tourists go home, end quote, written on a wall. But then someone told me, comma, quote, pay it no mind, lad, end quote, and end the double quote. If your quotation within a quotation happens to end right at the end of your sentence, no worries. Go ahead and just put your double quotations after that single quotation and continue your internal citation as you regularly would. Long quotations. So some of you have quotations that are longer than 3 lines, which means you have to do a block formatting. So that is what we're going to look at here. You will continue just as you did in your regular outline. You introduce the quotation, you put this big long piece of quotation in, and then you just slapped your citation at the end of it. But when it's long like this, you need to set it off from the rest of the paragraph. So this is where my paragraph would be. Okay. In American Origins of Writing Across the Curriculum Movement, David Russell argues. Now notice when I go into this quotation, there are no quotation marks. When I go into this, there's no quotation marks. There's anywhere, right? Now, here's a case where if he were to use quotation marks, I could just use the doubles because I don't have a set of double quotation marks anywhere for my particular source. So what do? We do a 1/2 inch margin from the left margin of our paragraph. And you just make sure everything is indented that way. Okay. Now also notice our internal citation, Russell, page 3, right? This comes after the period. We only do this in a long quotation. We don't do this in our shorter quotations. In our shorter quotations, if our evidence ends in a period, that period just becomes part of our sentence and goes at the end of our parenthetical citation there. Let's move on to that. Your citation basics. You must introduce the speaker or writer of the quotation. Some of you weren't doing that, so I want to make sure that we give you that basic note. Commas come after the intro and before the open of the quotation marks. Before we open those quotation marks, we put a comma. Jane says, comma. Rick Steves claims, comma. Then we open our quotation marks. Okay, your punctuation, your period comes after your parentheses. If you've got a question or an exclamation, a question mark or an exclamation point within the citation, that belongs to whoever within that citation is saying that. Whoever inside that quotation is questioning or exclaiming, that's their question, that's their exclamation. And you do put that inside of the quotation marks, but you are making a statement and you are going to put that period after the parentheses. Okay, so here's this example. You would recognize this from our opposition. This is the opposition statement that we did the example of on the other slide. Curry states, comma, open parentheses. 90% of drugs that pass animal tests fail in humans, that leads us down blind alleys, right? Look, I'm saying Curry states all this stuff, and I'm putting a period at the end of my sentence because all I really was, I could, if I was going to be a lazy writer, I could say Curry states something, and then this comma and these quotation marks and all of this information and this quotation mark, all this stuff would be replaced by that very boring nowhere word something, and I would just say Curry states something, and that would be my sentence. Well, we're not lazy writers, we're good writers. So we say Curry states, comma, open quotation marks. 90% of drugs that pass, wasted on animal research that leads us down blind alleys, close quotation marks, open parentheses, last name, space, there's no comma, there's no period, Curry, space, 114, close parentheses, end my sentence. Okay? Here's a little video I did for you just to show you. What about if you have no author? No author, no problem. cannot figure out how to cite something internally, head to your Works Cited page. It's going to give you everything you need to know. If you have the name of your author, obviously we go with that in our parenthetical citation. If we come across something where, oh, we don't have the name of an author, right? We go with the thing that is listed first in the Works Cited. So here we would be using Humane Slaughter Act of 1960 without the period in our parenthetical citation. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. All right. So what we would do with that would be, instead of Curry in here, it would be, and it's in quotation marks, Humane Slaughter Act of 1960 is in quotation marks in my Works Cited, so I put it in quotation marks in my parenthetical citation. All right, I think that does it for me. So if you have any questions, you can watch this over as many times as you'd like. You can sign up on our shared Google Excel sheet for extra help, and you can always email me. All right, guys. Bye.